morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual Walk with the Future Doc. My name's Lauren. I'm a third-year medical student at WVU. So just wanted to give everyone a quick overview of what to expect. I think most people have already participated in the walks in the past, but just in case. So first we'll hear from Dr. Haggerty about staying safe this holiday season with COVID. And then as we walk together virtually, Dr. Haggerty will be able to answer any questions people have. And then everyone should have received a little pop-up notification from Zoom to consent to recording of the walk. Only the audio portion of the recording is going to be made available publicly on our YouTube channel, which is WVU Walk with the Future Doc. I think that's all the updates. Let me see. I had written stuff down. So, yep, I think that's all the updates. So now I'd like to introduce everyone to Dr. Haggerty, who's a physician at WVU Medicine's Weight Management Clinic, and we're excited to have her speak with us today. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I got these new AirPods and I messed them up. I'm a little bit too old for AirPods apparently, but so I wanted to kind of preface this talk first with that I'm going to go off the CDC guidelines and their handout about Thanksgiving. And part of the reason I'm going to do that is that I'm pretty COVID adverse. And we live pretty much socially distanced except for when I go to clinic. We just stay within our family unit. So if I throw in a professional opinion, it's probably going to slant more towards that. Okay. So one reason I thought about talking about this first is that there's actually been about 1 million cases of COVID that were diagnosed in the last 7 days, which is kind of incredible. And it tells us that we know that there's a spike. You know that from the news. But we have to think about that. The concern I have with that is that Thanksgiving's coming and then Christmas is coming. So all these times when we want to be with our family and be around a lot of people that we love and care for, there's also risks associated with that. So when you're thinking about your upcoming celebrations, you want to think about quite a few things. One of the things is about the COVID rates in the community that you're going to or your community. Because if rates are going up, then that's a higher risk area to go to, okay? CDC doesn't, they don't mince words on this. They feel that everybody should celebrate with their own family that lives within their own household. So they even said that you should think about college students as being somebody that lives, that lives outside of their household, as being somebody that lives outside of the household. So it's whoever lives within your household. The other thing to think about is those that live in your household, they're also practicing appropriate social distancing and mask wearing. I'm gonna actually put my mask up here. I'm coming up on someone. So first off, thinking about that COVID rise, if you're gonna do anything outside of that. Hi. Second thing is exposure during travel. So if to get to your family, you have to travel, there's exposure risk there. So anytime you're stopping for food, gas, bathroom, anything like that, you have increased risk of exposure. So a lot of people get the test before they go, which is one option to do, but it doesn't keep you from having those other exposures. The location of the gathering. So thinking about where you're going to do the gathering. So is it going to be inside? And if it's going to be inside, is there good airflow or stagnant airflow? It's better if gatherings are kept small and they're kept outside. And people still practice social distancing and mask wearing. The duration of the gathering. So you don't want families to be within 6 feet of each other, families from outside your household being within 6 feet of each other, even if outside, for more than 15 minutes. And that's 15 cumulative minutes. So across a period of time. So it's something to think about. And then the number of people at the gathering. So there's calculators online where you can look up for the number of people and what the risk is for your area. So you can look up some of those calculators, but really the CDC pushes it needs to be 10 people or less would be the safest if you're going to do, I shouldn't say safest. Safest is only the people within your household. But if you're doing outside that, 10 people or less. And then think about behavior of attendees prior to the gathering. And what that means is people that are coming to your gathering, are they social distancing for the 14 days before they come to your gathering? Are you inviting somebody who doesn't believe in social distancing or believes in it but is not doing it? And one thing I've realized recently is that you can see that on Facebook. So you want to think about that. So if you're inviting somebody that's high risk to your gathering, then that risk is coming to you. And then the behaviors during the gathering. So let's go through some of those. So, and this is if you're bringing somebody into your Thanksgiving or you're going to somebody else's. These are some things to think about. One is, I'll just go through the list. So limit the number of attendees. Host outside rather than inside. So my family, before the spike, we had thought about trying to get a picnic shelter and doing it, even one that had a fireplace in it, and doing it there. We've since decided not to, just because of the spike and the risk involved. But at least thinking about doing it outside rather than inside if you can. And then if you're inside, I mean, outside everybody should stay 6 feet apart, but inside they should too, right? But if you do it outside, still wearing the mask, still 6 feet apart, but those rules need to be also for inside gatherings. And then the foods in your gathering. So instead of serving buffet style, somebody should serve each guest, or you have one person touching the serving spoon and putting it on the plate if you're going to do that. So that minimizes the people that are around the food. The other thing is, of course, masks when people are around the food. You have to think about it even for the condiments. So have somebody divvying out those condiments is another thing. The other one is to avoid singing and talking loud. So COVID is spread through droplets, and those droplets can be projected more through forceful vocals. So singing and loud talking can be a concern. The other thing to think about that I hadn't really thought about until I read this COVID is alcohol. So serving alcohol kind of, we know that alcohol decreases some inhibitions. So if somebody is going to make a mistake based on wearing masks or singing or talking loud, you have to think about that with alcohol serving and maybe limit or don't serve alcohol in that setting. The other thing is have your guests wash hands. When they enter your home, try to get them to wash their hands. And then throughout the evening, like everyone, if they are going to touch anything food related, wash their hands prior to that. wash their hands prior to eating, and just make that reminder if somebody's going to be in your home. And then cleaning and disinfecting the surfaces. So surfaces people are going to be eating at, the handles of serving spoons and things like that would be important. And then one that I found interesting, treat pets as you would other household family members. So pets should not mingle between members of families who live in different households. So at the gathering, maybe have the pet in their crate or in a room somewhere away from the guests so that they aren't going from guest to guest getting pet. Now, when I was looking at all this information, I did find where the CDC has a warning not to put masks on pets. So apparently don't put masks on pets. I hadn't really thought about that. So that's a big one. So limiting cleaning surfaces, cleaning hands, thinking about, not singing, not talking loud, have guests wear masks, do it outside instead of inside if possible, which right now it's looking like it's going to be in the 50s that day in Morgantown. So check your area's weather. But the biggest thing is to do it with members of your own household, which is what my family is doing. Now, when you think about COVID and quarantine and that kind of stuff, so if somebody is suspecting they could have been exposed to COVID or tested because they have symptoms, then their quarantine needs to start then. So they shouldn't be at the gathering. They should start a 14-day quarantine. Now, if somebody, right now the CDC says if you're the contact of a contact of somebody with COVID, then you just practice the masking and hand washing. I myself wouldn't do that, but I would probably stay as quarantined as I could too in that situation. But that's what you should do. Now, if somebody had a positive test, so let's say a week and a half ago, somebody's test was positive, they would need to quarantine for 10 days. Am I still on here? Yeah, 10 days. 10 days past when they started having symptoms. So they need to fully quarantine for that amount of time. And then after that, again, masks, social distancing, that kind of stuff. I think I covered most of it. Now, I was hoping to maybe talk about some things. Oh, travel and overnight stays. Of course, I said that thing about college students. Some people have to go home for the holidays for one reason or another. So really thinking about that travel and how to minimize risk. The other thing is thinking about how you can distance make sure that you're following all the rules prior to that travel. And then wearing your mask. If you're flying and you have access to try to get an N95 or a KN95, that would probably be best to wear those instead of a fabric mask. CDC is now saying fabric masks can provide some protection, but your best protection will come from those N95 masks. Treat pets. And then if you have any symptoms, you need to cancel the plans and socially distance at that point, for sure. And people that were exposed to you before that point, 5 days at least, need to probably social distance, or not probably, they need to socially distance at that point too. So I was hoping kind of to open up for questions, but also I was kind of hoping to see if anyone had innovative ways that their families planning on connecting during Thanksgiving, because the other side of this is, of course, the isolation, depression, loneliness. So I thought I'd throw out there one of the plans that we're doing in my family. So yesterday, I put together a bunch of they were just brown lunch bags, We put hot chocolate mix and Mad Lib books, if anyone remembers Mad Lib. Thanksgiving Mad Lib books. We put popcorn, M&Ms, bingo cards, and then we put an invite on them to a Zoom meeting tonight. And we drove them around and dropped them on the porches of my kids' friends' houses. And tonight they're doing a big Zoom meeting and playing bingo. And all the kids have been calling my son. They're super excited. So that's one thing we're doing to help with getting some socialization in this time. My family has made the decision that we are doing our own Thanksgiving. So my brother's having his with his inside his house family. My parents are doing their own, and we're doing our own. So we're fully following the CDC guidelines in our household. And then we'll do Zoom with our Vermont family during dinner. Probably we do Zoom with them all the time. We did phone calls before this with them all the time on holidays. So I'll open it up now for some questions, and also if anyone has anything they're doing to help with connection in this time, I'd like to hear the ideas.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Haggerty. I love the idea of the boxes you dropped off at your kids' friends' houses. I think that's so cute.
Thank you.
Friendsgiving has become like a huge thing lately too, and I think for a lot of like young people, young college students, and even like your kids having a Friendsgiving, it's like super important to be social. My Thanksgiving this year is usually like a big one, a big Italian Thanksgiving, and this year it's going to be the four of us.
This is
me
hard.
and my sister. And my parents and my sister and I are both in college, and we're social distancing this week, and my parents as well, so we can all be together. So that's what we're doing, and we plan to utilize Zoom, which I think is such an awesome thing. I mean, we're using it for these walks, and that's the way we'll connect with my brother who lives in Atlanta, and my grandparents. So that's good. Zoom and social distancing prior, so that we can have like a little less of a stressful day. So
and I think Zoom has, I think I read that they decreased their requirements or their limitations for Thanksgiving Day. So now people should be able to use it.
Yeah, they've lifted their restriction on time, which is awesome.
So I think Kathy, it may have been you that told me that. So you can make a Zoom, anyone can make a Zoom meeting at any time for 40 minutes. But now you're going to be allowed to make one for longer than 40 minutes on Thanksgiving Day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I have a huge family, and this is our big holiday, and I have never been away from them for Thanksgiving in my entire 50 years of my life. So we'll be doing the same thing. It's really hard. And Mama Mattia was not a happy girl. Let's just put it that way. But so we're going to make do.
We have a few other surprises going out this week to some people that are special to us. That's how we're trying to help with connection. We'll see. I think it's working so far. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, can you just make it go away, please?
Yeah, I would love to. I tell you, in this last week, I've heard that most people that were like contacts of my contacts that had died from this. So it's like starting to really hit close to home in a lot of ways. I made a post this week on Facebook that really, I'm looking at Facebook, and a lot of people are putting up pictures that I would consider risky behaviors. And then I've got other friends that are working all over the country trying to keep people alive with COVID, because they're friends from medical world. And when you think about it, like right now, think about our grocery store workers. We're doing Kroger pickup and the Instacart through Aldi for a lot of our stuff. I'm actually starting today because I'm worried they won't have items I need. And so I can add them throughout the week as I need to by just doing those pickup orders. But that's another thing that we're trying to do to decrease our risk. But also by me not being in the grocery store, I feel like I decrease the congestion of the store and the risk there. Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah, we just
Haggerty,
found.
can you?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go right
Can you
ahead.
just talk a little bit about, you mentioned like the difference between an N95 mask and a KN95 and then a cloth mask. Can you like describe what they look like to people so they know like what's the difference between these and why are they different?
Yeah, so an N95 or KN95, they'll be labeled right on the front of the mask. So probably in your mask effectiveness rate, you're going to get the highest with that N95 and just a smidgen touch below with KN95. Now, it's so little that I would suggest doing KN95 or N95. I wear KN95 at work, which was provided by WVU. So those are probably your highest level of protection, and you can actually buy those now. We had a period of time where you couldn't get them, but now they're starting to be available. Now, below that, you've got the surgical masks that have some protection more for other people. That's when we start getting into protecting other people. So surgical masks, and then probably the lowest effectiveness, but still it's a really good measure and very effective, is wearing a cloth mask. So like I'm a quilter, so I sew. This one's I had this fabric printed. It's like WVU or West Virginia. That's watercolor West Virginia fabric. But so cloth masks, they suggest 2 or 3 layers of high quality quilting cotton. And that helps protect. They're now saying it probably provides some protection for the mask wearer, but the bigger thing is you're protecting everybody around you. So presumably, if we all wore the cloth masks, we would decrease the rates big time by protecting everybody around us, and everybody would be protecting everyone around us. But I know that if you're in the stores, I haven't been in the stores, but I know that if you are, that mask usage isn't as high as it should be. That would be my recommendation, is to wear one of those. But if you want the most protection to yourself, you're going to get that with the N95 or KN95. So if you're flying or anything, that's the route I would go. Now, again, if I'm giving my professional opinion, I'm going to just preface that with, we are very careful in our household. So my opinion is going to lean more towards the Uber protection. So.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I was going to say, I think Taria's right. Going back to really taking a look at who is coming to your gathering and what their behaviors are outside. I know, like my sister-in-law lives in Pennsylvania, and she has to teach 5 days a week to 90 children. So that was part of our decision, not necessarily to go home. Now, my mother is insisting that they be at the house. Okay, that's her thing. But and my brother is also a musician, and the last couple weeks has played to an audience. So that was kind of our, okay, not everybody is doing what we're doing, so maybe we should just stay put,
Yeah, and that went into ours. My brother, he has a small group that he socially distanced with, but they're outside of my group. So once you start adding them together and putting those circles over top of each other, it's a little more risk. And I mean, one of his is his direct neighbor. They live right next to each other. We're actually friends with his neighbor too. And it would be hard for his kid, to stay away from that kid. I get that. We've made the decision for our kids not to play with our neighbors. And they have a different group that they quote unquote socially distance with outside their household. So if I started meaning with my neighbors and my brother, it's quite a few contacts. So that's where we've decided not to. I think the other thing to think about is the people and the risk that's coming to your gathering. So my mom has rheumatoid arthritis. She's been on these walks. She does really well, but she's on the disease modifying drugs, DMARDs. And they knock her immune system down because that's how you treat it. And so we have my mom. My parents live across the road from me and they don't go anywhere or see anyone. And then out of our two households, I myself go to work 1 to 2 half days a week. I'm seeing patients in person. So I make sure I wear my N95, don't touch my face, but I'm probably the highest risk in that. I think somebody else had a question.
Yeah, that was me. So I just have a question. I'm not sure if you're seeing these kind of patients, but like, what if you have an elderly person that is living completely alone? Like, what are they supposed to do during this time, especially if they do have a big family and like they're used to having, a big Thanksgiving?
Right. And I think that's where we have to start getting innovative a little bit. It's been kind of I think that's the hard part about this pandemic more than anything, is that we have a lot of people that are being isolated. So thinking of innovative ways of including them. So one thing I had thought about doing, my parents are going to do their own Thanksgiving dinner, and my brother's doing his own Thanksgiving dinner. But I had planned before they said they were doing their own, I was thinking, well, I'll just get containers and drop dinners off on their porch so they can have some of ours or whatever. The other thing we've done is we've stopped by and waved through the window at someone. I know that's not ideal and not the best, but you could even combine that, like being across the window or whatever from them, with the video technology in some way, or phone, because if they could see you and you're just calling them, that might help. The other thing is, if it's unavoidable from the mental health aspect of it, then I would look into those N95s. I would make sure that anyone that was going in there had fully socially distanced the 14 days prior, and possibly the negative test before. I think that that's a tool we can use. I will say that I know of 2 people whose family member died after they did that before a beach trip. And then somebody had brought it into the beach house and a family member died. So that's happened twice now. I just found out about one this week. And then there was one that died, one family member of a friend of a friend of a friend that died. I think it was probably August or September after that situation. So the negative test, I think that's good. I wouldn't use it as a way of feeling completely comfortable. I think that has to be in conjunction with the other measures. If the contact is needed for another reason, even if that's loneliness and depression and things like that.
Meg, I want to add something to that because I was looking this up yesterday. I think it was also on the CDC website about like, can you deliver food to people that are like isolated like that? And what I found was that there was really no trace just yet. And someone can correct me if they saw something different, through food as a way of like transmission of the virus. So if you want to deliver food to someone's house, I think that would mean the world to them. The cautions that they did say, like if you are feeling sick and preparing the food, be cautious. Like, maybe you should wear a mask. Don't do it, or like gloves and like lots of hand washing, of course. But like delivering food, like warm food to someone's house, it should be fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Just use your food sanitation guidelines.
Yeah. So I've heard that that's one reason pickup has been thought to be okay. We as a family, we've done pickup only a few times in the pandemic, and we are on Monday because it's my son's birthday and he wants pizza, and we're going to do pizza. However, I have also heard the virus is not very good at staying intact if it's warm or hot. If it's hot. So heating up that food might be a good protective measure. I don't have a study in front of me. I did not read a study to tell you that, but that would be my thought process. The other thing is the virus is encapsulated by a fat layer. So that's why soap is so effective, because soap breaks down fat. And so washing the hands, keeping everything clean, wearing the mask while you make it, especially if sick, but while you make it could be helpful. But really those food safety guidelines, like Kathy said, would be the best. Now I see there's one in the chat about 7, let me see, let me pull it up. Having a total of 7 people, should we be concerned? So I think the best thing to do is go on Google and look for one of the calculators that shows your risk. So I think 7 people, if they're outside the household, of course, that has some risk associated with it. But the best thing we can do now is understand what our current risk is. So looking at the risk of where the people are coming from, look at the risk of the area that you live, or where the people are coming to, and just understanding the risk for it so that anyone that's involved knows what that risk is. On top of that, wearing the mask, hand washing, all that stuff, physical distancing inside or outside. So 6 feet would be important, but the CDC is pretty clear that the optimum thing right now is for it to only be people within the household that live in the household that are taking part. Any other questions? I still got time. I'm way far from my car right now.
There's another question in the chat, but it has to do with Christmas. But I want to add one more thing about Thanksgiving before we kind of transition a little bit. I know a lot of places a lot of times do turkey trots. And so I think something cool to do would be like maybe do a turkey trot with your family in the morning.
That would be fun.
Like, or go for a walk after dinner. I think we usually just sit around and watch football all day, but like being outside, going for a walk after dinner, that could be a new tradition. So, so turkey
can I say
and being outside?
I will I'll forward you guys a link, but now I realize I've been out of college for like a billion years, but my sorority at West Virginia Wesleyan is holding a virtual turkey trot, and the proceeds to that will go to Feeding America. So if you guys are interested, I'll send you a link so that, I mean, that it's a charity-based thing and it's going to feed the hungry. So if you're interested, I'll send it.
So I had another idea for a way of doing a get together, and Kathy, you may hear about this in the future, so be quiet about it. But you know, WVU Medicine has said no Christmas parties, no Thanksgiving parties, that kind of stuff, which makes sense. I'm glad they said that fully. I wouldn't have been taking part anyways. But I had an idea where you could go. So a lot of grocery stores now have the HelloFresh boxes. Right in the grocery store. So you could actually pick up, one thing you could think about doing is picking up a HelloFresh box and dropping at your friends' houses. And then all of you make the same dinner at the same time through a Zoom call or something like that. So just something for a little bit older. I got the kid thing down a little bit, but trying to think of what to do for adults that still feels connected. That was an idea I had. And I may have made Laura listen to my idea really excitedly one day. So
I know what's coming, right?
Maybe. We don't know. We got to make sure that, because I haven't been in the grocery store since March, really. So I don't know if they still have the HelloFresh boxes. So I'm telling you all that, but I don't fully know. So then we thought, well, we could put together our own. But that's a lot of work. So, but we could, and I think it'd be fun. I'd have fun doing it.
We can make it easy. That'd be all right. But
I found the clinical team that can have the same kind of fun that I like to have. So it would work out.
Yes.
I love that. I really do love that. I think that's so cool. We do have a question in the chat, and the question is thoughts on kids and Christmas pertaining to like Santa, socialization, gifts, etc.
Yeah. So interestingly, this Thanksgiving one I'm doing with my kids, I'm terming it as a Thanksgiving one. Part of it was because it's my son's birthday on Monday too. And so I didn't tell the other parents that it was his birthday because I didn't want anyone to feel like he's going to get plenty of gifts. We have plenty of toys. We don't need more stuff. So I didn't tell, he will get stuff from all the family and he will be happy. But one of the little girls that we dropped it off to, she called Jude. She didn't know it was us, but she called Jude so excited last night because somebody had dropped this off and she wanted to know if he got it too. Her mom had let her call. And he said, yeah. And she's so excited because she said her and her mom are going to do one for Christmas. So I think my kids, and then another mom had told me when I had asked all the moms or the parents that dropped them off too, I'd asked them before I did that because I wanted to make sure they could take part and they were okay with me dropping it on their porch and stuff. And one of the other moms, she's the volunteer coordinator at the school. And this year's hard for people that do that kind of work. But she was super excited because she's like, we got to plan this for other events, to get them socializing. Now, the Santa thing, our household will just be doing the traditional, milk and cookies. My kids will never see them, which is odd for us because usually we have very specific Santas we go see each year. But we're not doing that. And I know the Westover Lights here in Morgantown, there's a house in Westover that does a whole walkthrough and a Santa with free gifts. We always give a donation, but they do. It's incredible. It's incredible. And it's free. They have a donation box for people that want to, but it's free for the community. And I did see they're not holding that this year. And they're asking kids to actually send a card to the guy that normally sets it up and does it. So I'll have my kids do that. Just remind them that Santa's not going to be there because of COVID. And so we're going to make cards and send them to the guy that usually does that to bring joy, hopefully bring joy to him, because I'm sure this is a hard year for him because they put so much effort into it. But that's just some things that we're doing. And then I tend to try to stay away from the gift things. I mean, my kids, they have plenty. They have perfectly plenty. So we usually do the adopt a kid, that kind of stuff. And so they're getting the same gifts from family that they would normally get, but we'll just do a little more of giving out than what we normally do. We try to do a lot, but we'll do that. So I think a lot of the adopt a kid things, a lot of them are also doing like Amazon lists now. So you can actually send your gift. Like we usually go shopping and pick it up and wrap it and, take it to my husband's work or my work, wherever there's kids that have been adopted for Christmas. We usually do that, but this year we'll be looking at the Amazon options.
Yeah, I have some extra ideas for the Christmas season as it comes around.
I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, so I think instead of maybe the Santa thing, a lot of people do the elf on the shelf.
Yes.
And so I think that could be like a good maybe alternative for this year. Something to still keep the kids excited every morning. Where's the elf and things like that. I also know that Meg, who's also on the call, we set up a little, the website is called Elfster. I don't know if you've heard of it before. And so you can log on and you can make a group gift exchange on there. And I also do one with my cousins, and I can set restrictions on when the draw is made. Like I can't give to my sister, my cousin can't give to his brother, and things like that. And you can make a wish list and put your Amazon wish list things on there. You can anonymously ask like who you have, like what kind of things they might want, what's their favorite color. And there's a new setting, I think for this year, where you can like manage your kids on there too. And so they can make a wish list and do gift exchange with their friends or with their cousins. And you can just ship the stuff straight to them once it's on your Amazon thing, or you can put it on from like different websites and such. But it's really super easy. And I think that that's a good thing to do for this year. And
That's
you can
awesome.
like do polls and questions to like keep people interacted. And then a lot of people are doing like Zoom like reveal parties of what they got after it's been mailed to them.
That's super fun.
And the good thing about that too is that, so I set it up, but I don't know who anyone has. So it's like, there doesn't have to be the one middleman that kind of gets spoiled. So
That's
you can
cool.
just like, yeah, everyone has no idea who anyone else has.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so that was called Elfster. So if anybody, I think it's totally worth it to like check out over Thanksgiving, so you can like add your people, invite them, and stuff like that.
So there's the Elfster reminds me that the thing that I did for the kids, we put "You've been gobbled" on the front of it, and then you leave whatever on the porch. At Halloween, it's "You've been booed," but at Christmas, it's you've been elfed. And usually, people, the idea is you would put a placard on your door that says "We've been elfed," and you get someone else in your neighborhood. Elfster. I'm going to remember that.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here, I think, Dr. Haggerty. I don't see any more questions in the chat, but if anybody has any final questions, you can let us know. Do you have any final words about, let's take it back to safety, Dr. Haggerty, like maybe 3 important takeaways from today's talk?
Yeah, so 3, I can easily do that. So 6 feet apart outside. I'm going to count those 2 as 1. So 6 feet apart outside, still wearing masks if outside or inside, and washing hands repeatedly, because remember that virus is encapsulated by a fat layer and soap is meant to break down fat. So that washing hands is really important too. Ooh, almost fell.
All right, and then is Kathy still here?
Yep.
Hey, Kathy, could you give us a couple tips on like healthy eating for the Thanksgiving holiday, since you are our nutritionist?
I would say the best thing you can possibly do is make half of your plate those really delicious vegetables that you should be having for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
You know, roasted root vegetables, roasted asparagus, green beans, not green bean casserole, but green beans. If you make half of your plate, you know, vegetables and maybe some fruit, then you got room on the other side for your good protein, your turkey, and your favorite sides, like a couple spoonsful of your favorite sides, and just like enjoy the day. Slow down. Enjoy
I'm
it.
going to add, so I have 2 dietitians in my life. I have Kathy and Judy. I don't think Judy got on today, but I would add on one of Judy's favorite things is those vegetables, make them like different colors.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I made root.
Judy throw it in.
Yeah, I made root vegetables the other day. It was butternut squash, beets, turnips, potatoes, and carrots. So it was this beautiful rainbow of colors on my plate. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, take the time and enjoy it. It's, you know, it's not about restriction on Thanksgiving. It's just about what you can make out of what you got and enjoy and be grateful for it.
Kathy posted on our clinic group this week a thing her daughter made. It was a bunch of like cut up vegetables that looked like a turkey.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really, really cute. If you Google it, I've seen other examples too. Super cute idea.
Yeah, go on Pinterest and they have tons of that stuff. But yeah, she made a fully, you know, fanned out turkey out of like peppers and cucumbers and all kinds of stuff. So it was great.
All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. So thank you so much, Dr. Haggerty, for talking with us today and educating us a little bit more about how to keep our family safe and healthy as we start off this holiday season. We are so thankful for everyone for participating in our walks. And we're really I know I, for one, am really looking forward to Thanksgiving this year, even though it's going to be a little bit different. But it's important to count your blessings and to be thankful for the things that you do have. And so I think however you're celebrating this year, it's important to be safe, but to enjoy life and enjoy company, however that may be, virtual or in person. And if you're wearing a mask as you go out into the store, it's important to smile. Even though you're wearing your mask, I think you can smile with your eyes. And it's important to say please and thank you. People can still hear you. And a lot of those people working at the grocery stores are going to be working late nights, packaging up the deliveries and things like that. So it's important to think of them, to smile, say please, say thank you, and try to spread a little bit of holiday cheer as much as we can. And so thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. Our next walk will be in 2 weeks. And you can find more information about that on our Facebook page. If you know anyone who could benefit from hearing about the conversation from today, this will be posted on our YouTube channel. And if you're walking with us today, if you wouldn't mind typing in the chat where you're walking from and who you are, we're just trying to track how far our program reaches. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we hope you enjoy.